launches and has a hit. Jack McGlynn! That is an absolute banger to draw this game level.
What's happening? We're back, baby. Just getting rolling here. Say what's up in the chat if you are coming in. As we get rolling with your questions. All right, let's see. Post the links. It's good to go. Diogo, how are you? Thanks for coming in. Everything's good here. How about you? How are we doing this fine game week? I haven't touched a single lineup, so just looked at matches, and we'll see. We'll see how we do. Before we get started, I'm just going to wait for a few more to get in here. So I just posted a link. I appreciate you guys coming in. I know it's a little bit late, but it's about as early as I can do at the moment. Hopefully with summer, it gets a little bit better. Alex, what's happening? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in, bud. All right. Big up Europe gang. Let's go. Late night. Thanks for stopping in. That's awesome. Or early, maybe early morning, depending. So Ronan, appreciate that. Diego deciding if I risk Yelich or not. I think he will start. I would feel comfortable playing him. Depends which lineup you're going to play him in, but pretty confident. Diego, 2 a.m. here. Let's go. Late game. Man, that's great. It's 9:25 here. I've been every spare minute doing lineups. I swear, trying to find information. Information's been tough, but at least we got a little bit of information today. So as you guys are coming in here, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through every single match, all 13. So 26 total teams in action this midweek. I'm going to go through each one, give my little points and why is someone 60%, things like that. So yeah, so just definitely pop these up on stream so we can get everybody in here. ATG, got you. Europe gang, love that. There's that Yelich question. I always forget to do this. 2 a.m. 2:25 right now. I got to get that Portland in because I don't be disappointed by yeah. So if you want to save the time, you can ask any questions you want, number one. So I'm going to bounce around. I'm going to go through in order, but I'm going to bounce around however you guys want. So if you're interested in Portland, which they're a big favorite. So what I'm basically, you might as well just start now, right? As questions come in. So basically, let's take a look at this. This is server probabilities, S_probabilities, his kind of Google sheet that he makes custom for you. You can have your players in it, but I like to start here and just kind of work my way out. So you can pick MLS specials in here just because, we had that, but you can change it to whatever you're looking for, which is really nice. And then you can just kind of see where we're at. So Nashville sitting at the top against Toronto, and I like home. Home is big for me, team home. So that's how I'm doubtful because he just came back from injury watch. He's walking kind of weird. Yeah. Miguel Berry did score too. Quick turnaround. Yeah, he didn't look great. But yeah, coming back from injury, a little bit doubt. I wouldn't play him in my top lineup, but if I had him in my gallery and it was between a few players, I'd probably still play him. FC Cincinnati's up there. If you read my article on RotoWire, I talked about some of these teams that are up top. Portland is up there. You got Philly. Lines change. As you can see here, Minnesota was in the top 5. After updating, the odds have moved towards LA Galaxy, so that's come down a little bit. RSL now up to 5th. Home against Seattle. And just take a look at the bottom. Makes sense. Inter Miami. Favorite, 47% on the road. That's pretty big for MLS, but pretty clear there. Columbus, same thing in Montreal. LAFC pretty deadlocked there. Then we got slight favorites as Austin over Houston at home, DC slight favorite over New York Red Bulls, and Colorado slight favorite over Vancouver. But we're getting to that almost 50%. So you hit that 50% if you're not familiar with odds, lines, things like that. That's basically even money. So like 50% is plus 100, or decimal odds would be 2.00. So if you're looking at it that way, that's kind of where these percentiles kind of match up. Ronan, I'm kind of shocked by Semler's price. Philly disaster class at the back. Shirley Blake is the undisputed one. His fitness seems to be in serious doubt nearly every week. Yeah, so Blake is still, questionable to come back. He was close as of last week. We haven't heard a single thing from Curtin. There's no presser. I think the presser's tomorrow, so we won't hear anything. Semler should start again, but his price is really high. And I'll say personally, I don't think it's his fault. That back line, Glesnes and Lowe was horrible last match. He got sent off and then brought back because it was outside the box, and I guess he got a little bit of the ball, but still not a great challenge. Philly stinks right now. So as a guy who owns the 23 and 24 collections, yeah, my game weeks haven't been great. So with this being said, here's who we're looking at. We're looking at all these teams. Nashville, I can't trust by any means. If you take a look at my lineup predictions, they have rotated and had some weird lineups, and they are by far my worst. So whenever we get to that lineup, I could be very wrong on those for sure. FC Cincinnati, coming off a huge win, possible letdown spot after a huge win in the Hell's Real Derby. Portland hasn't won in 9? So interesting. If you hear my cat meowing in the background, I apologize. Philadelphia Union, they've been terrible. 3 straight home losses. That's crazy. RSL have been really good. So we actually get to, 2 really solid teams there. Let's see. I have Nashville, Philly, Portland, and Charlotte collections. So the stats are in my favor. However, I bet the luck is not. Yeah. Good matchups. It's just, will it play out is the question. Charlotte isn't as good on the road, but they've had some nice road results. Chicago's not very good. We've seen that. So that'll be interesting there. Got some good collections. I do like Philly, obviously, because I'm a supporter. Portland have just been horrible. If Evander plays and he's starting, which he should, that team just looks a whole lot different, and they're dangerous attacking. Is it worth risking Insigne in a priority lineup? I would say no, just because if you look 22% win on, so it's not even a great matchup. I know it's Nashville, but so if we go to Toronto, I have it as a 50-50. I do think he has a good chance of starting. It's just they seem to be rolling out Derek Etienne Jr., who I think is horrendous. And I know some people will definitely agree with that, especially Atlanta people. And I do think it's a 50-50 because he played, how many minutes did he play? It wasn't a ton. I'm really zoomed in there. He played, I think it was like 19, maybe 14 minutes. So 14 minutes, it makes me think maybe they ramp up to like 30 or maybe 45. It seems like they do 45 minutes a decent amount, as maybe something like that. So in a priority lineup, I probably wouldn't, but that's just kind of like personal preference. And also my lineup building has been horrendous so far. So to be fair, here we go. Jou, Jou 120. Is it safe to start? Let's go to Minnesota because there's some tricky things here. So don't mind my cat just going nuts right now. Aluwase. So I have this 75%. So I do put it as adding the percents together just because it just kind of, I like to show where they could possibly play. If they play in this 5-2-3 type of formation, which they did last match, and they've kind of went back and forth through a bunch of different formations, but it just depends on who's in. He's played a little bit of the right wing, which, yeah, Timu Pukki not starting, he's been bad. Like, Pukki hasn't been good. Oluwaseyu has been a lot better. So I could see Pukki not playing. That's why I'm 60% at him. So I could see him starting over Pukki there. But as far as like playing at the right wing, he did. But it's more of like a second forward, really, whenever they kind of got into it. Whenever I looked at the heat maps, he's on the right side, but it was more forward. But he can play that position. Jong, I think, is pretty locked in, but I still have an 85% because not entirely sure. So Minnesota coming off a bye, everyone should be closer to healthy. Arenas is not in, but Dotson's still questionable. I don't think he'll start, so I only have him as 10%, just because he's kind of seems like he's behind. But we haven't had a lot of information there. But along the back too, and I'll talk more whenever he gets to this lineup. So I would say, is it safe to start him with his current form? I would be shocked if they sat him. I would. So if we take a look down here, he has goals in 3 straight matches, 3 straight starts. He's been good. He's good for 60 minutes, and then it seems like Pukki's coming on in replacement of him, or they did start together, the striker and right wing. So that's kind of what I was referring to. But yeah, I think he's pretty safe to start. Could something happen where he doesn't start? Absolutely. But I'm 75%, if that makes you feel any better. Taco Slayer, what's happening? Congrats on the win. You whooped our boys into shape for sure. Is Messi playing? Should I sell my ticket to buy more Sarah cards? Not financial advice, but Messi should be playing. I haven't heard anything that is different than that. That'll be further up. Mr. Messi, I have him at 90%. I do think, after that spanking last time, I know Orlando's going to want to get back at him. But yeah, 90%, pretty straightforward on him. Yeah. Oh, you have Ben as well, but you want to start? Thanks. Absolutely. Hey, absolutely. Thank you for the questions. All right, so I'm going to go through matchup by matchup and just kind of roll through. If you have any questions, keep rapid fire them. I can go off tangent, but I'm just going to start through and then keep looking at the chat. Definitely, if you're in here and you have questions, by all means. If you're watching on Twitter, I appreciate it. But switch over to YouTube or Twitch, and you can ask any questions in the chat now, because I don't think there is like a comment on Twitter. You can let me know if I'm wrong on that, but at least it's not showing in my stream. All right, so let's start off here. The percents were from earlier today, so they could have changed a little bit. So we have Columbus a little bit favored over Montreal at home. So Montreal is going through a ton of injuries. Poku, Kokoro, Josef Martinez, you got Nathan Saliba, and Edwards is questionable with an abdomen injury, which just came out of nowhere last weekend. So as far as him, if he can play and he can start, he starts in at that left wing back position, which Lassiter will be at if he's out. So they've been playing one striker. Like, if Edwards is in, I would think they would play the 2 strikers, so it'd just be a 3-4-1-2 instead of a 2-1. But they just don't have a lot of reinforcements that are available. So pretty straightforward with Sirwa in net. As far as the left center back position, I am a little bit tossed up here, just because if you look at the previous kind of what happened, Alvarez has come in after injury. Sosa was out with a lower leg. It ended up being a calf injury, and then it's coming back. So as far as that, it's just kind of poor form for Alvarez. 17 minutes coming back maybe isn't enough. If we get Sosa for like 30 to 40 minutes or something in that range, I think he'll start the next match. He's on loan this year, and Alvarez is a solid player that's been around. My cat is going nuts here. This is midnight. All right. So that's kind of the back line. I think Waterman's pretty safe. And, George Campbell's really solid. I like George Campbell. I like Waterman. They're solid, but in this matchup, it's tough. Shirley Evander starts. I am Phil Neville needs to be fired just for his how he's handling these injuries. Everyone was good to go before lineup block, and then after lineup block, I tweeted it out, retweeted it, and Evander, he's trying to be fit, but he's not right. It's just brutal. But yeah, surely he should start. I really think he should, but I am a little skeptical on it just because of what we've been through. I think I'm 60% ish. Let's just make sure that's what I had him at. Yeah, I'm at 60%. You hate it, but I think he starts. Thought he would start last week though as well, so I was wrong last week, but I don't know. You would think, especially with him coming off the bench. As far as in the midfield, Troignier did request a transfer, which I thought might have kind of caused riffles, but he's still playing every week. The other chances over here are right wing back because he can play that as well. He can play either wing back position. Pretty straightforward. And then we have Vilsant, who Yankov is coming back from injury. He has had some minutes. He should be a guy that gets in the starting lineup. Toy starting there. They just don't really have any other options. If Vilsant starts, he can play that striker position as well, but he's better as kind of a behind the striker, in my opinion. And then we got Bryce Duke, who had a really nice match last time out, rivalry game against Inter Miami. He's pretty set on. And then Toy 70%, but whenever other people are back, Toy is not going to be near a starter. So Poku was targeting the last match. He didn't even make the bench, so he's not going to start right out of the gate. So I did throw the 10% just because he might be in the lineup as a sub, which is good. Then over to Columbus. Columbus is tricky. So they've played the Champions Cup several times, and their rotations have been huge. So I know this isn't like a Champions Cup rotation, but their midweek matches, I know they were prioritizing the Champions Cup, so they were doing heavy rotations around. It won't be as heavy, and I know Nancy's going back to Montreal, so that's kind of a big thing for him, but he kind of changes. So Camacho is 50-50 to start, and I think Amundson's right there as well. Those are the two that probably could make way for Traberco, who I think will start. I have him at 80%. So again, how I do this is I add the percents together. I know mathematically that's like, if you have that chance times that chance, that's kind of how it worked. But this is kind of the way that it just is like a cumulative probability of just adding those together, just to kind of make it so you can see what's going on. Amundsen, Morera, same thing. Zawadzki, they love him. He can play anywhere. He can play left mid. He can play right mid. He can play any of the three center back positions. He can play centrally as well. So he's a Swiss Army knife. He plays that everywhere. So you see 40% here. Farsi's coming back. He said he's good to go, was the word. If you don't have my sheet, I would highly suggest checking it out, because if we could, let's see, go to Columbus. I do make notes as they come in. So like if you're waiting for lineups, you could just go to this, and I kind of just update this first and then build off that. So like I don't need that there anymore. Or I'm on the wrong email, right? Yeah. So back at training and 513. So on the side, stretching workouts. So that's for Russell Rowe. So that's why I docked him a little bit. I don't have him in the starting lineup. As far as the other positions, Darlington Nagby, I got a question on him. He rotated 2 out of the 3 times they had fixture congestion. I do think he will start, but I have to show a little bit of concern there. Jones started, or Zawadzki started, one of them, but it was Jones that filled in. If they want to do a little rotation, then, go back to full strength, some of these positions. It'll be interesting to see how these teams go, just because there's a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of teams haven't really played midweeks. Last midweek, a lot of teams actually played the U.S. Open Cup, so we have a little bit of a sample size there, but they completely rotated, almost, except for Dallas. Ronan says, Kerwin Vargas, not certain to start. He's 90% for me, 90%. So he is pretty certain to start for me. Cucho should start. Rossi should start. this right side, or Rossi can play either way, but this is where it's going to be a little bit tricky. With Farsi coming back, Matan played at this right mid spot last match, but that's not really where he plays, especially with Farsi coming back. I don't think he'll start, but I think he has to be in the mix. But this spot, Hinestroza, if we take a look at him, he has started a decent chunk lately. So Hinestroza, back-to-back starts, and then he didn't play at all. So he's going to be fresh. So that's kind of why I thought he could definitely be in position to start, but it's not an overwhelming start. He is that under 22 signing, probably the biggest offseason that I can think of. Who else they signed? Derek Jones and Hagen. Yeah. So as far as him starting, that makes the most sense to me. Now, could that be wrong? For sure. That's why 50%. Russell Rowe struggling a little bit, just because in training he was off to the side, and as I just highlighted, so I'm 45% there. And then Matan is 50%. That's a real toss-up for me. I don't have a strong feeling either way. Hinestroza is fresh, and he started the 2 games prior to that. So that's kind of my thinking there. Hitting the head. Finished up the line, so hitting the head. Thanks always. Hey, thanks for coming in, Ronan. All right, so next match. This is an interesting one. DC United against the New York Red Bulls. Red Bulls have been really good this year. Absolutely. DC United have been solid as well, kind of out of nowhere. They're finally getting healthy. Everyone's getting back, which makes it a little bit tricky of how they're going to line up. So formation-wise, they could kind of switch it up a little bit. Connor Antley is back, so he played 45 minutes off the bench last match. I do think he fits in more of this role as more of a wing-back type, like Herrera is on the outside, on the right side. And then the back three, Matty Peltola, the DP, young DP that was signed, he can play centrally in the midfield, but as center back, I just really think he does well back there. Birnbaum's back. I just don't think he's a starter. They do like Bartlett. They do like McVeigh. So that's kind of my thinking there. Dahomey, he should start at one of these positions. So I do have him at 75%, and he's been a set starter pretty much the entire time. Kude Pietro came back from injury last match, but he only played 45 minutes. He wasn't great by any means, so that's kind of why I dropped him as a starter. I have him as 45% over here, right mid as well, but Herrera's going to start there. Jackson Hopkins has been a nice little addition. So again, on the sheet, another thing that's like really important is just, age. Okay, are they breaking into the team? So if you look at Jackson Hopkins, kind of came out of nowhere this year. He's a homegrown talent, worth $800,000 on transfer market. He's only 19, turning 20 shortly. So he has really stepped in and kind of come to his own. So if we take a look at Jackson Hopkins over his last set of games, I mean, he's starting pretty much solely every match. He's not going 90, so that's interesting as well. But he is playing pretty much every match. So he kind of sliding in as a more defensive role beside Klitsch is kind of really important to this team, especially when Peltola is sliding back to center back, where Peltola could play there as well. Pirani would be an attacking option there, but I don't think they'll do that as 2 attackers when they play this kind of role as well. If they do 2 strikers, Morel has been playing a decent amount. He's another guy that's kind of come into his own. He could play beside Benteke, which would be interesting. Jared Strauss been in really good form. I do want to touch on him. He's in a really good form. 2 assists, back-to-back matches. So the AA hasn't quite been there. 4.2 AA here, 9.1 AA here. You would like more, but if he's going to get 2 assists, another decisive here, penalty kick 1. He's been really good. Benteke has been unbelievable. Another hat trick. He had 2 goals here. He's just a machine. He wins every aerial. So he's pretty set on as well. I don't see him rotating. There's just no reason because how good he's been. So interesting. Home is huge in the MLS. Sorry. Notes there. So DC United, slight favorites against Red Bulls. Couple things on Red Bulls. Coach said with 3 matches within like 13 days, so this is match 2, there is going to be a rotation. So here's my thoughts on this rotation. I do think Van Zier, his form last match wasn't great. He was subbed off a little bit earlier. Manuel hasn't started in forever. So I do think he might get a shot, especially scoring off the bench. Maybe give him a shot in the arm to play a little bit. So if you look back, 69 minutes didn't really do much, but he did. Banzier had a goal. I'm not saying he loses his position. I'm just saying Manuel, for that 21 minutes, he's playing about 20 minutes a match, super sub. He did score. So if they're talking about rotation, I would think it's going to be in this match, not the weekend. But again, I don't know what the coach is going to do. So this is just my best guess at it. Edelman, one thing to watch. He got tangled up. I think it was a pretty bad, in my opinion, bad challenge on Edelman. Kind of went through the back of Dylan Barrera from New England, and his knee's probably torn again. That's what it kind of looked like. It didn't look good. But he kind of was gingerly. That's why he's 85%, but he should be fine. Essentially, they don't have a lot of options with the other Stroud sideline for a while. So the other kind of toss-up would be the back line. So Sean Nellis, I have him as 90%. So it's just semantics about which side he's playing. Kyle Duncan, I have as the other rotation. Kyle Duncan playing over Dylan Nellis. And the other one would be Reyes playing over Eilid, which is just kind of a toss-up as well. So those are kind of the rotations that I could see. So in that situation, we would have, 3 rotations, which isn't a ton of rotation, but it's enough rotation that would kind of make sense to me as the manager. But again, I'm not making these decisions. Carmona, if you look at him, he is 70%. He could be the other one rotated, but I'm a little bit higher on him not getting rotated than the others. But yeah, could go either way for sure. Next match, FC Cincinnati. So they're playing Atlanta, who has been really struggling. What can you say? Almeida did well last match. Gigi isn't scoring. Jean De Silva could be back in the starting lineup after playing off the bench in 2 straight matches. That's a big shot in the arm because I'm not a big Mascara fan. I don't think he's very good. But he could start again and then Jean De play. But I think Jean De came off 45 minutes last match. So I mean, if he can go 45, he can go 60. So it makes sense for him to start 29 minutes. So not 45. I apologize. I think he can go 60 minutes just based on training and everything that goes along with that. So, but this isn't a great matchup for them. Gregerson had a concussion in the U.S. Open Cup. He's back in training, so he is back in the mix. I do think they'll want to get him in whenever he's good. This cat will not leave me alone. And then pretty much McCarty played a decent amount last match, so maybe Miyumba gets rotated, but still 75% on him. Rest is pretty straightforward. As far as injuries, Jamal Yar, again, with some of these names, I'm going to botch a ton. So if you're a fan of the team and I botch it, I do as well as I can for for all these guys. But he's doubtful, but he is back in training, so that's a good sign. But yeah, not really high hopes for Atlanta this week. But there is that kind of, okay, hey, FC Cincinnati just beat Columbus for the first time in Columbus ever. I know it's a pretty recent franchise, but that's a huge rivalry, and they finally won a match in Columbus, including playoffs, everything. So they're coming off that. I spelled Kelsey wrong. It auto-corrected. That's annoying. I just saw that now. Kevin Kelsey's the new guy in town. He was signed with Bupenza getting punched by a boxer and getting his jaw broken is pretty brutal. That's crazy. That's so Bupenza. He just seems to get into these situations. Like Gabon sent him home from national duty. He always seems to get into issues. Corey Baird should start as well. Santos coming back from injury. I don't really see him starting. Kubo, I just want to touch on him. He is a Swiss Army knife. He's great he can play cam, he can play striker, he can play right wing back. So I do have him as a starter for sure. 50%, 40% here. That's total on 90% on Kubo. Yedlin has not been training. He was kind of off to the side. So I really don't think he's going to play. I would not risk him. I don't really think too many people are playing Yedlin anyway, but just in case. So we can see Kubo playing here. Halsey is coming off a red card, so interesting, but yeah, 30%, same kind of thing as Yedlin. Pavel Buka and Novodo should be pretty straightforward there. They've played pretty much every match. As far as I know, Lucho Costa played unbelievable last match. Unbelievable last match, and he had like that minor knock, but it was a rivalry match. Looking back on it, should have bumped him up a little bit. I was still 50-50 for him to start. Did go with him as the starter, but just not a lot of confidence. Should have bumped that up. Hindsight, should have bumped it up a little bit. The back line, Murphy has played really well. So Hagelin coming back from injury, he's the elder statesman. I believe his contract runs out this year as well. 2024. So Murphy, they could get on a player option. He's only 24. So it just kind of makes sense to keep him unless they're going to rotate a little bit. But pretty straightforward other than that. So I do fancy FC Cincinnati, but at the same time, possible letdown spot against a team that absolutely needs points, absolutely needs a win really bad in Atlanta. They've just kind of fallen off the face of the earth. And they don't really have any excuses left. They just keep losing. On to our next one, we got Jorge's. Here we go. Sorry, I missed this. Chances of a Schulte clean sheet. So let's go see what they actually are first, and then I'll give my little rundown on it. So let's see. Columbus is here. So clean sheet is a 30% chance. So that is the best of the away teams. And Austin's got 31, 33, so it's kind of middle of the road. Montreal doesn't have any options that kind of scare you, right? So like Mason Toy has scored goals, yeah, sure. Bryce Duke is coming off a nice match, but this roster doesn't really scare you that much. Montreal does play really well at home, usually. But yeah, there's a chance. As far as my goalies, I have Schulte and a couple others. He's probably the best of the bunch in terms of MLS. Because the calendar's not keeping a clean sheet, players like that I have. So, what is it, a 30-ish%, but yeah. Taco Slayer, yeah. I wish I was more excited. But you're going to be there, so I mean, that's a great experience. Inter Miami have struggled, so maybe you jump on them and then you keep the pedal down. So, Taco, I'm glad you're in here because I have some questions for you as well. Just because this roster, the 3-5-2 that they kind of played last match did well. I mean, they were undermanned as far as their missing players, and they kind of took Philly to the woodshed in the first half. So I kind of this was one of them. I did say formation real toss-up. Could be a 3-5-2, 4-2-3-1. Could be a 4-4-2. All I know is I'm pretty confident that McGuire and Muriel have to start together. Both played well, and I just don't see taking them off. They both should be on the field. So you kind of have to game plan around that. Schlegel was out with a suspension. He should be back. Cartagena slid back into that center back role. He can play in the midfield. So he could slide in his Ladera role. Ladera was great. He played really well. Yeah. Injuries forced them to change it up and look good. Yeah. It was surprising. But yeah. Yeah, pairing him up with Munson, with Jerussi and Rubia, expecting something. Yeah. It's Nico season as well. So yeah, let's look at that. Let's look at the line on that one. When it rains, it pours against 3 assists, and he conceded a penalty. That's beautiful. And 87 points. Absolutely tore it up. You had Muriel with 98.5. You had McGuire with 61.8. A lot of goodness. Then you had Angulo with 8.2, which was not great. Janssen got injured. Not as severe as they thought. Here's a quote. News has been much better. So It's good. Rafael Santos was training today with his shoulder. So in the beat writer said he looked good, which is good. We got better than 2 strikers. It just makes sense. Like, why not play them both? Just, you got them. I know it's a weird situation to have both of them, but since you have them, adjust. But yeah, this is what I'm going to go with. Thor Halson surprisingly made the bench. I was kind of shocked there. Just kind of, I was struggling which way to go about this, but I wouldn't change a thing other than, just maybe a couple players here, a couple players there. But this just kind of makes sense. Ladera and Torres getting forward. I guess you could go more defensive in one of these players, but yeah, this is what I'm going to go with. And if they can kind of bring this back to whenever Rujo was just kind of being a menace to Messi, I think that's what you have to do, muck it up a little bit. You're playing at home. You're not playing at Inter Miami. So who knows? 30% to 44% doesn't look great on paper, but yeah. Yeah, I love that attack last game. Hopefully those new negotiations fall through again. If you're not familiar with the situation, Duncan McGuire was going to Blackburn. He flew over, and then some administrator didn't submit the paperwork or whatever happened. They messed up. And that person was fired this week, according to reports. Why was he not fired long ago? And this week, doesn't make sense to me, but doesn't make sense at all. Let's go to Inter Miami. This team's a buzzsaw. I just hate that. I know Messi gets everybody here. I hate that I love the squad. I hate that. Like, I want to root against them, but like, there's so many players in the squad that like I love, which is brutal. Yes, sparked up note. I did note that as well. So let's see what the notes I said. Blackburn trying to reignite transfer talks. Orlando looking for extension. So that's interesting too. That'd be crazy. Like, just have them both. Why not? Why not? As a Philly fan, like, literally took us to the woodshed in the first half, and we were trying to get back in the match. I think fatigue kind of set in to get back into it a little bit, but I mean, whenever you need Pen Dog to, have 2 pens in a game and rely on that, not going to score from open play, apparently. Like, I don't know. I don't think we deserved anything there as the pessimist Philly fan. So, as I said, Inter Miami, I really like how all the pieces. Like, I hate that I do. Rojas looked unbelievable. It's just another guy that's just like, okay, he just had that insane free kick last match. Just unbelievable. They got Gressel in the offseason. Abeles, unbelievable. He's coming back from yellow card accumulation. He'll be in the lineup. Jordi Alba, he's been training. It was a little bit too soon over the weekend, but they were just saying, we'll hold him out one more. Should be good to go. So I went 60-40 with Negri on there. Kramashi, I really like, but I don't think he'll start him 2 in a row. It's just kind of like they did a 4-4-2 last match, so I think he'll go back to the 4-3-3. Taylor seems like the odd man out because Rojas can play that position as well. But with him not playing last match, I think he'll be back in the starting lineup here. And Rojas sliding into that left center mid position that can get a little bit forward. So that's interesting for sure where he kind of falls out because he's given a lot to the club as far as like he chose not to go to Finland and stay with the club to kind of help them out whenever they were losing everyone to international duty. So if they kind of just, do away with him, that'd be a shame for him just because he kind of put everything. Is the Pen Dog legacy over? This is just not the same like group of 2022 or even 2023. They just look bad, from an outsider. I'm sure you guys see it. They just don't look good. The passing, they're just trying to hit that long ball, or they just force the ball down the right, or it's Wagner on the left. He swings the ball in. Nobody's on it. And here we go again. It's just, they don't possess the ball. It's very frustrating to watch. I don't know what the clear thing is. They don't really spend unless it's, through the youth academy or like Ty Baribo has played 1 minute. I mean, we'll get to Philly, but like, hey, he'll play this week. He played 1 minute. He's played 1 minute all year. It's been like a coach's decision, but like, why sign the guy? I thought like he would learn and he would kind of fill that role and be like an impact sub coming off, similar to like a Corey Burke role in the 2022 team. But I mean, with Ura scoring a decent amount, he's been okay, but like he's just not fun to watch. He's missed a lot of chances. He scored a decent amount. Carranza's going to be gone. Like we gotta move on and have to figure out what's going on. When he leaves, there's a huge hole there. Gazdag, he's 28, but he looks like his movements are different. McGlynn's going to be gone in this, I don't know, in the summer, like probably. He's just so good. McGlynn is unbelievable. Quinn Sullivan's been a bright spot, signing his brother, but he's 14. Like he's not going to help us now. And then the center backs. Glesnes is okay. He was horrible in the Champions Cup. Elliott doesn't even start anymore. Lowe started over him, but he's been horrible. Like I was surprised that Lowe even played after the last match because he's just been bad. Macania they signed, and he's not even in the lineup usually. He's played with the second team, but like they're using an international spot on him. It's just some of these signings are just confusing. FBL, what's happening? Thanks for coming in. Yeah, Wagner magic after League's Cup is something special. We need that back. Yeah, and not saying that he hasn't been good. I mean, he's never been good defensively. Let's be honest. He's a moving forward guy. The scores have been solid, but he hasn't had that like 90 points that he's just smashing his face off, like 40 AA and a goal, or an assist. They haven't been really connecting on those type of things, but League's Cup was unbelievable. I went to that, who was it? Tijuana game against, Tijuana was the first one. Querétaro was the second one, yeah. I went to that Tijuana game where Tijuana got a red, and Blake had the save, but they conceded, and I got second in Cap 270 rare, and I was at the game and had that full stack. And we need that. Like, I need that for my gallery because I'm just not happy with it. It's going well, FBL. How are you? Sure it's late or early over where you are. How are you doing? So, tangent over. I think we can move on from that match. Which brings us to Philadelphia. So I basically talked about Philadelphia. I don't really need to go into. You can tell. Pretty brutal. Very late, I'm sure, but I appreciate you tuning in for sure. I think it's pretty straightforward. Carranza's back in. 70%, it says there, again, semantics. He'd play on this side if Ura, and then Sullivan would play on that side. That's just all it is. He's 90% coming off the yellow card accumulation. We could see Flock again. He played over Martinez as like a rotation type thing before, whenever they had the midweek, so that's why that little edge there. Bedoya's played a lot in a row, but I think when Sullivan slides back down with these two up top, McGlynn safe. Gazdag should be pretty safe. Lowe, I have him at 60, same with Elliott, but I do think Elliott should start over him just based on recent form. And Lowe, like, he's kind of a bit of a hothead as of late. The kind of antics that he had, I know the guy dove, I forget who it was, but Taco, if you remind me who dove, Muriel dove. He touched him a little bit, though. Like, there was contact. But he dove, and then he, like, I don't know, could have gotten a second yellow. Just, you don't love to see it. Harriel's been great. He should start. And then Semla should be the starter. There's been zero Blake news. So this is all kind of in the dark. I don't think Blake will be back yet. Hopefully we get a presser tomorrow, but it's going to be after lock, so it doesn't really matter. FPL, so is it good to play a Philly stack like Lesnes, Martinez, Ura, and Elliott this game week? They're favored over New York CFC, but these guys haven't been scoring very well, as you know. Ura did score, but like I wouldn't stack those guys. I just don't think the upside's really there with a lot of them. Like Lesnes could score 60, sure. Elliott could score 60, but requires a clean sheet, which they haven't really done at all. Martinez, I mean, he can have a decent amount of AA, but in a game that hopefully they're on the front foot, maybe he's not making as many tackles. Uro, maybe he can keep that goal streak going, but I would use him more as one-offs personally, unless you're going to stack the big boys. So like in season, I don't really have many other options. So like what I'm going to do with my Philly boys is I'm going to play Wagner, probably McGlynn and Carranza together, like those three, as like a 3-player stack, and then maybe mix in different players. I don't really want to put Semla together with Kai Wagner just because it kind of blows it up. Last game week, I really shot myself in the foot because I put the Philly boys and then Ricky Pooge, which I like doing, but if I would have put Ricky Pooge in under 23 rare, I would have won, which you hate that. And that just like kills you because you're like, you would have been a great play there. Yes, this is a great point here. Do you think anyone sees a suspension, Sean John specifically? So let's go just jump to Toronto real quick. I went 70% on him because, like, okay, he headbutted him. Like, he kind of provoked a lot of that. I just don't see a way that he's not suspended, right? Like, I feel like that's going to be reviewed and he's going to be suspended. But will he be suspended for this game, or will they, like, appeal it so he can play this game? That's a really good question, ATG. Like, if you have Sean John, I wouldn't feel comfortable playing him in a priority lineup. Nashville scored 4 goals last time they were at home, but like attacking wise, unless Hani gets on it, and like Surge had that hat trick, but what has he done all year outside of that? So like I don't hate Sean John as far as the matchup. I just don't. I don't know. I just feel like he should be suspended, like as a neutral from a neutral standpoint. So that's a really good question. McGlynn, 100 incoming. We just need another ripper, and we'll be good there. Oh, man. As far as New York City FC, they have some questions for sure. They have some injuries. They have some suspensions. So Thomas Sejovic, however you say that, was suspended. Freeze in that, pretty straightforward. Gray and Ilinic is pretty much toss-up for me. Could they flip-flop all year? Sure. Gray wasn't horrible, that's for sure. The midfield's where it's really tricky. So Pereira scored and Parks was on the bench and he came off the bench. That's kind of a toss-up. I have them both at 55% because we could see the former Philly boy again and Parks on the bench, which I'm a big Parks guy. Sorry, I have Parks at 60. Yeah, both at 65. Sorry. Santi is at 80%. He would be 90 if he wasn't subbed off in the 89th minute. It looked like cramping to me. He was just kind of like exhausted, but quick turnaround. Maybe it could be something else. And then your best guess is my best guess on that right wing, or if like Wolf plays on the right and then they flip flop. I just don't know. Bakrar said he's trending to be available, but it's 50%, a little bit tricky. But you can see the list of different players that can play that. They don't really have Mijatovic. They're not really playing. And his grandma's mad about it. If you didn't see that tweet, it's pretty funny. His grandma was like upset about it, which is great. Like Ojeda, it could be his turn to start. Julian Fernandez hasn't started in the last 2. I wish he would. I don't have his card, but I just think he's very talented. They have a lot of young talents. They have way too many wings. But what are you going to do? Let me just get caught up here. Balat, thanks for coming in. Hey, man, thanks for predictions. How confident are you with Zimmerman? Let's bounce back down to Zimmerman. 80%, so let's go to Zimmerman. Let's go to Nashville. I'm about 80% confident. Yeah, that 20% could happen for sure. He came off for 45 minutes last match. He was questionable whenever the injury report came out. If he can go 45, I think he'll be fine with 60, 60, or, he played 68 before. I think he'll be fine. Pretty straightforward, in my opinion, on that back line is where it gets messy, and I'll get to that in a couple games. Gonna play with Insigne, yeah. I mean, the upside's there, right? Upside's definitely there with him. what to do with Mukhtar. He isn't doing much, but I feel big scores around the corner. If it's ever going to be this match, I mean, he had, a goal, a couple matches again in that 4-1 win. He had a goal. So, I mean, they're the biggest favorites on the slate against Toronto, 57% to win. The XG isn't as high as some of the other ones, so they do think it's going to be low scoring. You got to think he factors in. The AA hasn't been there, so you don't love that for Mukhtar, but I would absolutely be ruling him out this week. He's a lock into maybe even your top lineup, just because the upside is there if he can put it together. It's just like he could have 2 decisives for sure. He could, but will he? Who knows? Jeff C, what's happening? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. HH should start again. Yeah, he should. Pop down to Houston real quick. 70%. I know that's, not as high, but he should start. It's just kind of, they're ramping him up. The only why he's not higher is it's a midweek with short rotation, short rest. So Blessing could play in an attacking-ish role there, and maybe a 4-3-3. But yeah, pretty straightforward. He should start again. He scored last match, so you love to see that. What about Mayer? 70%. It's just, I'll be fully honest, Nashville hasn't been my best team. They've been my worst team to predict. Gary Smith has been super sporadic with his options, so to say the least. Mayer, whenever you think he's going to start, then he ends up not starting. Lovitz would be the option here. I do think Schaffelberg's going to be in at left mid, which would push Lovitz back to that left center back if he would play. It's either him or Mayer. I think it's going to be Mayer, Zimmerman, and Bauer. But could we see Coleman? Sure. Could we see Lovitz? Sure. It's just kind of the coach's decision. And Nashville's been really frustrating so far. All right. Where are we at next? I think New York City. Yeah. It's about it for New York City, so we can move on. We talked about Minnesota a little bit so far, but as far as the roster, with pretty much everyone important here other than Reynoso and everyone healthy other than Dotson as starters, it's getting to be a little bit tricky to predict who's going to play and who's not going to play. There's a lot of positions where it's kind of a toss-up. I do want to start with Arriaga. He is more of a central mid, but he seems like he's playing more center back. He played center back last year as well at times. But Tapias, whenever he was injured, he kind of lost his spot. Padelford, they've been playing every match. So I do have him at 60%, which might seem low. But as far as a center back, he's not a natural center back. He can play in a back three as the left-sided center back. That's fine. But he's not a true center back. He's a left back. So as far as him, I'm a little bit. Tapias could come back in a more natural role. Rosales playing left mid makes a lot of sense. If he doesn't play left mid, he could play left center mid and kind of slide in there. But Will Trapp, he's 80% because he was on the side at training last week. No one really said why. He just didn't take part in training for some reason. Robin Lode, he's kind of the same stud that he's been. It's just he got hurt. They already had the bye, so a full week ago. He should be fine. He's been training. He was training at the end of last week, so that's good to see. What happened to the real Pookie? Has he forgotten to score? Yeah, he forgot to score. I do have him starting. I talked about it a little bit if you're just joining us. I do have him starting, but only 60% just because Oluwase has been playing well. I have him at 75%. Could he start on this right side? Could Sam Ben start there? Sure. Same with Bongi. Longawane, he was unbelievable last year. He was one of the better under 23 forwards in the summer, which have been pretty brutal. This year, he just hasn't gotten the starting lineup. He was in South Africa, and then he missed all training, and then he was behind the 8-ball in training. They got a new coach. He doesn't really favor him, apparently. Fragapani started over him. So that's kind of where I'm at with him. I have him at 45%. It's just the wings are interesting. Basangbin, I am at 85%, pretty confident on him. He takes some set pieces, Load does as well, so it's kind of in between. Hey, Hulk, how we doing? Good morning from Leverkusen, the best team in the world. Absolutely. I know I'm wearing a Dortmund shirt, but they are the best team in the world. I mean, undefeated, baby. Great run. Absolutely. I can shade the Seattle prediction. Yes. So go down to Seattle. We have here, let me take off your comments so we can see the bottom. Pretty straightforward. We have Nuhu is missing with yellow card accumulation, so you're going to see Cody Baker most likely at left back. There are some other options. One thing to notice, Yamar was kind of training today. It wasn't full. So he is coming back. I just don't think this turnaround. I just don't even have him in. De La Vega was supposed to come back last match. He didn't. He'll definitely come off the bench before he starts. They're going to ease him in for sure. I think we see Roldan in the central again. Atencio missed the last match. Didn't hear anything about that till after he's on the injury report. Hamstring issue, so don't see him. Vargas played on the right side, which was interesting, and he played pretty well with Roldan coming in left central mid. So Roldan at this point in his career, is he becoming like a central mid instead? That's really interesting to watch forward. I like Vargas a lot. He's young. He's a U.S. national. Under 19 he played. And then Rusnak, Morris, 90%, pretty straightforward on Morris. He's started pretty much every match he could be in. And Rui Diaz played really well last match, and pretty straightforward there. He should start. I don't think Musovski should score. So, yeah. Any questions on Seattle? I know it's late over there in Germany. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate it. Let's see. We were on Minnesota. We just got through Minnesota. What happened to Reynoso? No clear. So Reynoso skipped his flight back to Minnesota, and he didn't even go to his green card appointment in Argentina. So that's what he was supposed to be doing down there, and he didn't do it. He dodged the club for like a month and a half, and then he finally came back, and new coach, and he's not putting up with it. Reynoso pulls this every single year. He clearly doesn't want to be in Minnesota. No offense to anyone that's in Minnesota. Will he ever play? I don't think he'll play for Minnesota again, in my opinion. I think he'll be sold in or just, cut. I think he'll be sold. But, yeah, I don't think he'll play. The new coach doesn't like him. Absolutely, Hulk. My feeling that Beavers could start. Yeah, this would be a Beavers start for sure. Need a masterclass from João Paulo. Yeah, João Paulo didn't score that well last match. He is coming back from injury. I think he has the definite ability to get going. Thank you for your work. No question. All right. Hey, appreciate that, Hulk. I'm lurking in the rest of teams. Absolutely. Love it. If you have any questions, let me know. So let's switch over to the Galaxy. So the Galaxy, we just talked about, brought up the Beaver situation, down 2-0, and they came back. So they were able to tie it up. Didn't play great, but Ricky Pooch was unbelievable. I didn't play him in under 23 like an idiot. I would have won. Literally would have got my first, but I didn't play him. I played Inacio / De Kuiper as a double defender. I'm an idiot. If you saw it on stream, you saw my build there. So back line should be pretty straightforward. Neil coming back in. He's an important part of that back line. Young talent, U.S. under 20 national. Him just battling injuries this last year-ish has been tough. So pretty straightforward there. Delgado was coming back from an illness. So maybe if that's the only reason he had 80%, he'd be 90% like the rest. Cirillo has been important on the team at times, coming over from Dallas last year. So yeah, it'd be interesting there. Great point, Diogo. They were unbelievable at the start. They were just bam, bam, bam. They had so many chances early. I 100% agree with that. And then it's just they were hard done. It just seemed like they would have all this momentum. There's Chicho Arango. He's been unbelievable. But yeah, 100% agree with that. So let's get up to the questions. So Jovic, one of the comments earlier, he didn't look right. Yeah, he didn't look 100%. I do have him 70%. Barry scored late, but I said this last stream. Barry stinks. To be fully honest, he's no good. Uh, but he did score. I mean, he was terrible at Atlanta. Just not a Miguel Barry fan. But could there be a rotation where he starts and Jovic gets a little bit of rest and maybe plays like 30 minutes off the bench? Sure. That's why he's 70% instead of higher. And then Paintsel. I do want to talk about this just because not really sure what happened. So we haven't heard anything on this. This is just like a me thing. It's not like there wasn't a tweet about this that I know of. When he was subbed in the 81st minute, they showed him going straight to the locker room. I don't know if he was mad that he got subbed or like did he have an injury of some sort? I didn't see any injury on the field, but I'm a Paintsel owner and I'm a little bit concerned why he just went straight to the locker room because usually you get subbed, you watch the end of the game, especially a 2-1 match at the point. So if anyone has any info on that, that was a little bit surprising to me. So I am 75% just because I didn't see anything that happened. But was it a spat with Greg Vanny? I don't know. They didn't show it on the broadcast from what I saw. The nice thing about MLS Season Pass, if you have MLS Season Pass, you can just go to the exact minute. Like whenever someone's subbed off with injury, all I do is I go back to that minute. I watch what happened. I see the mannerisms. I listen to the broadcast because a lot of times the broadcasts they're really good at pointing out things. Obviously that's their job, but that's kind of what I do. And I don't know. I was watching the game and then I'm like, what happened there? So something to keep of note, but again, I could just be like in my own head there and could very well be. We talked about Nashville, the back line. Let's keep going with the rest of the team. So Sean Davis, I have at 60%. So he was out of the lineup last match. Tyler Boyd is back, but he's coming back from injury. So again, I haven't been great with Nashville. They're my worst team. So take this with a grain of salt. And as always, do your own research. This midweek, I could be battered. Like I'm shooting for 80% would be phenomenal on a midweek if there's going to be rotation and things like that. So my season average is 85%, which in my opinion is really good for the MLS. But if I put up like a 75%, honestly, that's not the worst thing in the world if there's some crazy rotation. But I'm shooting for that 80% this game week. I'm not the coaches, and I don't have any insights to the actual teams. So like some people that know a lot about certain teams, like you want to follow them over me. I'm doing all 29 MLS teams. There might be like a little piece that I miss that like a team expert would know. So that's why I like to play sharper with the team expert stuff. I think that's a great thing. So if you can get like team guys that literally their feed is just watching that. So like I'm a Philadelphia expert, but there's some good beat writers, but you still don't hear anything. Like if the press conference tomorrow happens after lock, you're out of luck. So we all hate the MPs, and that's my little rant on that. And let's get back to Nashville. I think Hani and Surge are very safe. I would like to see Schaffelberg. I did mention him briefly. I would like to see him on that left mid. I did write him up in the RotoWire column. I think he can get up that left side. I'm interested to see on the Toronto side who they play at that right mid. Bernadeschi got that second yellow late. So for Bernadeschi owners, I would argue that was good because you don't have to worry about the rotation or like getting tired in midfield. He's going to be great. He's going to be ready to go this weekend. You can just fire him in. So it'll be interesting to see if they play Kobe Franklin on that right side. Schaffelberg will be running down there at least as a defender, instead of an attacker. But if they play Kerr there, which he's played right mid before, if they play Kerr there, I think Schaffelberg could really give him fits if Kerr gets forward, which he probably will in that position. So that's kind of one of the matchups in this that I'm looking at. But as far as the rest, you could have Yearwood. It's kind of a toss-up between Boyd, but I am 80% on Yearwood. If Boyd starts at Cam, I could see Davis not starting and Yearwood starting over Davis just because Yearwood seems like a guy that they really like. If we just take a look at Yearwood, how far do you have to go back? I mean, the entire screen, he's started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do I have an 8? 8 straight matches. So he's a pretty big piece after coming over from New York Red Bulls. So I do think he's pretty safe to start, but you never know. You can always have a little wrench there. Toronto is the other one. So we briefly talked about it. Alex ATG talked about it. Sean Johnson, he was just like headbutting. There's one kind of clear headbutt, in my opinion, but I noted there. Chase the player and headbutt could be reviewed for suspension. That's kind of a tricky spot. So if you have Sean Johnson, there is the risk of that. I would have thought they would have rolled already, but I guess it's only Monday, matches on Saturday. I don't know. But like we said, a lot of injuries here and people out. So on the back line, Petretta looked fine. So yeah, he should be good. He was injured, left the match early, and then came back off the bench, scored, looked fine. There he is, Daniel Brubaker. Let's go. Thanks for joining. We are, I don't know, on team 7 or match 7 of 13. So if you have any questions, just let me know, Daniel, and then I can go up and down, whatever. We're just kind of rolling through here. Etienne Jr., I talked about this if you're just catching up. Insigne could start, but he didn't play a ton of minutes, so there's kind of a little bit of question mark there. Longstaff could play in this right attack mid position. If Osorio plays as a striker, he has before. Kerr is he's not in the doghouse, but he had like a foot issue, and then he kind of lost his position with Wusu, who's been in pretty good form, but Wusu got a red card and is suspended. So that kind of opens it up. It could be Kerr up top. I do have 60% on Kerr because he could play that right mid / he could play here as well, but just kind of spare it out. Longstaff could also play here. So if Longstaff, so if Kerr starts at striker, that would push Longstaff to center mid. Coelho, however you say that, Coelho, I believe, would be pushed back to the bench in that case, but that's at 70% there. So that's kind of the only kind of tweaks there. But other than that, yeah, pretty straight. I wouldn't say straightforward, but the 90% or so. Let's talk about that. Okay, we get to a big rivalry. Austin FC and Houston Dynamo. Another Texas rivalry. It just seems like it's a Texas rivalry match every single match. So Austin, the only things to kind of hint on would be at left back. Kulmanek played a decent amount. So if you go to Austin, he played 32 minutes. He's coming back from injury. He was the starter beforehand. Biro had played pretty well up until this point, and then he kind of, has had some performances that they're kind of, not the best. So I think there's a chance that we could see some rotation there. The other ones, 70% of both center backs, I don't think they're in much danger at the moment. Väisänen was the starter. Heinz Ike has kind of taken over that whenever he got hurt. Väisänen coming back. Could you win the spot back? Sure. Just at the moment, it just doesn't seem like it. So there could be a rotation there. Hedges, same thing on the right side. And then centrally, we could see Valencia with Danny Pereira, maybe a little bit there. I do want to just kind of focus on the left mid spot. So that's kind of the big toss-up. Owen Wolf, he drew a penalty. Driussi was able to connect on that penalty. So speaking of Driussi, FPL says, so Driussi to continue scoring form against Houston too. He could. He hasn't looked great in open play. That kind of saved his match because he had an error leading the goal. So yeah, he could for sure. Home against Houston. Houston, not quite as good on the road. You can say that about any team, but yeah. As far as that, we could see, I did go 60-40 on Rubio Zardes. Like, if there's going to be a spot where they switch, sure, it could be there. But I am 70% on Rubio because he could play Cam. But like Driussi, he's good as well. Obrian, same thing, 90%. Finley's hurt, questionable with a hamstring. So Rigoni and Wolf is kind of the toss-up. I don't know. I don't know if anyone even has an Owen Wolf card. That'd be interesting to see. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. There were no surprises last match, so I'm expecting a little bit of surprises from Austin. And then Houston, injury bug again. Ibrahim Aliou, he had a left calf issue. It could have been cramping, could have not been. He's 50-50 toss up with Cal Smith. Let's see this Houston chat. Sorry, Cal Smith. No, Brad Smith. Escobar, we did get some information on him. Out at least 2 weeks. That was on the 10th, it was said. So I don't expect him to be back. Jefferson Valverde, who was signed, has been training with the first team. I don't think he'll start by any means, but that's interesting to see what he does off the bench in like a central mid role, defensive mid, central mid role as a new signing. And then Ferreira, he came off the bench, Sebas, and then he was out again with lower body. So he just can't buy anything, which is tough. Feel bad for him. Tate Schmidt, let's go back here. With Escobar out, Tate Schmidt came on at halftime, and Steris started the first half, and they flip-flopped. So I'm thinking, maybe another split, but I want Schmidt as the starter. Definitely toss up there. They could play Barlow, but I don't think they'll rotate a center back there. It's a rivalry match. Hector Herrera, talked about him a little bit, 70%. Artur should be pretty safe. Bossi should be safe. Karaskia, and then Kowalczyk. He can play any position. So I have him at 80% with the added here Cam. But I don't know. There's some toss-ups there, which there's going to be toss-ups in midweeks. Whenever we see what happens midweek, we're going to have some same issues on the weekend. I hate midweeks. It just not only does it make a ton of work, but it's really tough. What happened to Gressel? He's such a consistent score for Vancouver, but now for a better team, Miami, he scores 40-ish. That's really interesting. So let's see. Can't type apparently. If we go to RotoWire and we go to the cheat sheets here, if I can highlight it. So one of the tools that I love on here on RotoWire is the cheat sheets. So you can see the lineups. These are my projected lineups. They have nice injury reports here. And what they have is the odds report, which is nice. Anytime goal scorer odds, like Benteke at the top, he's most likely to score. Carranza, maybe, 50-50 to score there. But this free kick tracker. So I do want to take a look at Miami just because it's interesting. Here's what I kind of think with Gressel. He has a not as big of a role for one. Decent role, but not as big. If you look here at set pieces, he has 25, where Messi has 21. Taylor's taken 9, Alba 4. As far as the last few games, 2 compared to 1. And then there's free kicks. Messi's getting most of the free kicks. And now we have Rojas that came in and took a free kick. He's not on here. But that kind of throws a wrench into it. There's a lot of mouths to feed as far as Gressel. And it's just kind of, it's tough. It's tough. I would think he scores better. I was thinking he would have a lot of assists to Messi, both playing on the right side. But it just seems like Messi does those like 1-2s with like Suarez or someone else, which takes that assist off. So that's kind of my thinking. I threw Clark into my lineup. I'm very excited about. Do I lose my expectations? Man, Austin struggled to score. I don't hate Clark whatsoever. Stuver, I love him. Same kind of thing with Clark. Could this be a 0-0? It sure could be. I don't hate Clark at all, and he has nice AA. So even if Austin's kind of getting those shots, he's going to make saves. He didn't have AA last game, but I think he'll have some nice one this one. So yeah, I like the idea of Steve Clark. All right, Chicago against Charlotte. Couple of key information that came out today. We have Kellen Acosta as well as Aragoni that are both not training today. They left the last match with a knock. So interesting what they'll do. They left last match. Fede Navarro went in for Acosta. So I do have him at 60% total. So I do think he could be the starter. I did bump Acosta from being the starter just because that quick turnaround, I don't think he'll be ready. Herbers stays in that central mid. It was a tactical switch, but I'm still pretty confident he plays 80%. Center back, Sajijo, oh boy, Shichos, however you say that, man. I'm struggling. I'm hitting a wall here or something. We'll call him Raphael. He's come back from injury. He played off the bench. I think he's a good chance to start. And then you have Pineda, and then Turan, and they're kind of a toss-up for me. So I got 70% on Pineda, 60% Turan, and 60 on Raphael there. Interesting for sure. Okay, 60% over Aragoni. That's just kind of with the Aragoni news. And the rest are pretty straightforward. You should have Shaqiri starting. You should have Gutierrez starting. You should have Kuipers and Mueller. Good to hear. Seattle will. Yeah. Very, very, very good chance. What happened to Abada? We'll go to Charlotte. So good news today. He could be back by Philly on May 29th. He was training separate from the group today, which is a good sign. He's about 2 weeks out, which is a little bit ahead of the original diagnosis. So, yeah, it's a thigh issue. Why do you think Banzier is only 50% to start? He could for sure start. So I would put him I wouldn't prioritize him this week just because Manuel scored off the bench, and the coach said that with 13 days and 3 matches in those 13 days, there will be rotation. So that kind of played into, I think there's going to be like 3 changes this midweek, and then, rest some guys and then coming back. So Vanzier didn't play great, and he was subbed off, but he did score the game before. So would I be shocked that Vanzier started? Absolutely not. But I just think there's a decent amount of risk that Manuel starts. And that's kind of my thinking there. And then how sure are you that Zimmerman starts? Whenever I talked about Nashville, I'm pretty confident, but I'm not confident in Gary Smith, the coach. So that's kind of, yes, I'm 80%. He played off the bench last match, but he played a decent chunk off the bench, and he should be good to go. Should be. So that's kind of my thinking there. But again, Gary Smith is sporadic, and we don't hear anything as far as news up until. So, like if Zimmerman is on, the availability report is questionable, it throws a wrench in there again. So that's kind of my thinking there. How do you see him performing so far? I had so much hope, but it seems he needs more time to make an impact. Yeah, he's been very disappointing so far. Disappointing for sure. But give him some time. It is hard to settle, and you got to think he hasn't played. Like, he needs to get back in match fitness and into the team because he hasn't played for a while. Can Westwood score good this game week? He's been man all season. Yeah, he's kind of a AA guy that hasn't been doing a ton, but yeah, at Chicago, I don't have high hopes for a score this week just based on how he's been playing, but you never know. It hasn't been great though. He was like a cap mode guy, and then when cap mode's gone, so is his performances. So that leads us back to the team we were talking about, Charlotte. The only other things I want to touch on is that midfield, Vakovic surprisingly somewhat started, and then surprisingly did start with Bronico starting. I didn't see that one coming. I don't think Bronico will start again. I would like to see Vakovic, Westwood, and then Diani, but Urso could start in that position. They've done weird things before. Vargas 90%, straightforward there. Ajiman scored, love to see that. And then Brecht 70%, should start on that right wing. If he can't go, it could be he could play that right central mid as well, but I didn't put him in there. Arfield hasn't started in a while. And then Tavares is the other guy who could play, but probably off the bench role. Let's see. St. Louis City against LAFC. So last year, this is kind of just taken into consideration. Last year, whenever St. Louis had midweeks or had things going on, whereas congested fixtures, they used their squad depth and they rotate like crazy. So with that being said, I am a little bit lower on some of these guys, but some current form, like you can't take them out of the lineup. Nielsen, good friend, not my good friend, but Annie Black, a good fan of St. Louis City, said that they're really just kind of putting bubble wrap on Nielsen coming back. So that's why I had him start last time. That's why I have Hebert starting. He's been okay. He's been good enough, but they're kind of putting bubble wrap. Broken ribs, I believe, is what Nielsen's coming back from. So he's come off for like 10 minutes ish off the bench. So that's kind of a 50-50 split there. Could we see a rotation here? Sure, but I just don't. I don't know why you would. Ostrak, Alm scored last match. Just kind of Pompeo scored last match. Scored really well last match, I should say. If we just take a look at some of these scores, they won 3-1. Like, I don't know. Klaus, 2 goals. He played great. It was an assist. Sorry, Pompeo had an assist, 80.5. Durkin had an assist. So a lot of these guys played really well. And with that current form, they want to get into some rhythm. And at home, I don't see a ton of the guys rotating. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, I think they want to build on that. And they're at a complete toss-up against LAFC. LAFC, the kind of things to worry about with them. Hollingshead, that neck injury. I see the U.S. Open Cup. It's tough to get information on that. I'm not watching all the U.S. Open Cup matches. I'm just going to be completely honest. Apparently, he suffered a neck injury in that. I didn't see it. So that was a real bummer whenever he came out on the availability report. There has been zero update on that, how his neck is, how long-term it is. Is it long-term? Is it short-term? So I just kind of don't see him coming 20% on him just because I'm not really sure. And if you have information on that, again, do your own research on that, but I couldn't find anything. Campos and Palencia will be the starters there. The center back trio, I think we're in a questionable here. Long and Chanel, they kept a clean sheet, which has been really rare at LAFC. Murillo was the guy that was the odd man out. He didn't play very well the game before, so it kind of made sense. I predicted that would be Murillo and Chanel, but Long did start, and Long played pretty well. Not the biggest Aaron Long guy, but got to give to him, play pretty well. The thing that you really want to watch is Illy Sanchez. So I have him at 50-50. He took a pretty hard knock to the knee, and he was injured and subbed off in about the 80th minute, I believe. So you got to keep an eye on him. I wouldn't feel comfortable playing him just because of that. One thing to note is he was walking afterwards, and he was kind of like going around to fans afterwards. So is it that significant? He was limping a little bit, but quick turnaround. So I would slide Atuesta back into that role because he can play that defensive mid role. And that would slide Bogusz, which would make Kai Kamara start, which you don't really want that to happen. And then Bouanga should start. Oliveira, oh my gosh, what a game! He can't stop scoring. That connection was unbelievable to watch. Just a really thorough match, and I think they'll keep it pretty much the same, other than if Illy Sanchez can't go. We're getting down to the end here. A couple more teams. Oh. All right, Rapids. So some key situations here. Again, Mihalovic. His wife can go into labor any day. So your best guess is my best guess. Didn't call any hospitals or anything in the Colorado area, the Denver area, to see if she went into labor or not. But that is just kind of a situation where you don't want a DNP because if it happens, it could have happened Sunday, Monday, the day of the game. He's not going to be in the lineup. So this opens up a pretty significant. I know I have Bassett as 40% as the other backup. The other backup got cut off. should have been someone else at 10%, or I just forgot them. But Bassett could move back into that cam position that he's played before. He can play on the left as well. Omir Fernandez looked really good last match. He scored. I think he kind of earned another start. Then on the other side, Cabral, and then you have Harris, who's kind of like the odd man out at the moment, but that's kind of a revolving door. And then on the back line, pretty straightforward. Don't see any changes there. Maybe Anderson gets a shot with Rosenberry not playing the best. And then Connor Ronan's the other one that I want to talk about. He came off the bench, played about 20 minutes from what I remember. And he's kind of coming back, which is good. And he's 50-50 to start. So while I wouldn't feel comfortable playing him, that's one card that I wish I would have got before he came back. I touched on it in the other video. But yeah, that's I definitely top of my stacks. I'll continue to play Rui Diaz over Morris in my Seattle stack, but I'm a little shook by that Vasovsky stack. Vasovsky start the other week. What was that? And that was rotation because they played Philly in that makeup game, which was a shock that Vasovsky started over Rui Diaz. Rui Diaz had a great, heck of a strike. And I'd be surprised if they kept him out. That's why I went 80%. But once you get hit once with one of those, that's like any Zach McMath owner. It's like that same kind of thing. It's just brutal. Thoughts of captaining João Paulo versus Rusnak or CR7? It's a past form versus current form debate. Yeah. So João Paulo is coming back from injury, as you obviously know with your stack. He's kind of ramping up. I've been surprised with some of his scores. He hasn't scored as well as he did last year. I think Rusnak with the upside of the decisive ability, sure, wouldn't be the worst captain. With CR7 kind of sliding into the midfield, maybe not as much upside, but maybe more AA, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Gun to my head, I'd probably go with João Paulo, but again, you're hoping that form comes back, and it might not be the best captain. To be honest, I'm not very good at captaining, so I would take mine with a grain of salt. All right, Vancouver, baby. Vancouver. All right, so the right center back has been a rotation. So Laborda and Utvik. So if you take a look here, okay, they are right here. So every other. So it just makes sense that, again, it would be every other. So Utvik in. He's good whenever he's in there. So I think that's pretty straightforward. Laborda could play. I have him as backup at the other positions, but just based on they've done that all year. So as soon as Utvik was fit, Ali Ahmed has scored really well at that left wing back position. Martins is back from injury, but it should be Ahmed. The front three, pretty straightforward. The only question marks for sure is, will Ryan Raposo start at right wing back? Will Schaaf start at central mid, or will he start at right wing back? I did think Schaaf starts. Vite is the one who's kind of the, will he start, will he not? I went 70% because rotation. I know his form hasn't been tremendous, but I think he'll be back in the starting lineup. That's just kind of a gut call. And I do like Schaaf on the other side. Raposo has been good. I went 60% on him, the slight left wing spot if they put him forward, like at Kugbe, whenever he played at left wing. But that's kind of pretty straightforward. Other than that, it's just, those couple guys could definitely get them wrong as the kind of toss-up stand. Okay, so let's get to RSL and the Beaver situation. I went 70-30. Could it be closer? Absolutely. But McMath wasn't great last match. Let's be honest. This seems like a Beaver start. It does. But let's think back to all the Beaver starts. Did anyone think they were going to be a Beaver start? He started the U.S. Open Cup, but did anyone really think that after a clean sheet, McMath would get rotated, and then Beavers gets a clean sheet, then he gets rotated? I would hate to be in this situation, especially when McMath can score well. So it's very frustrating, and especially them being in a solid matchup against Seattle. But it's just tough. So if you have either tough situation. Probably not in your best lineup, even though, yeah, don't feel great about it. So as far as left back, if I scroll down, Katranas has been a really nice addition. He looks really good. He's really solid on that left side. Um, History says Wednesday is Beavers Day. Yep. Love it. Yeah, like he's played a decent amount of Wednesdays. So I did go 70-30 on him. That should show that there's a significant risk. As far as left back, Katranas left with a groin issue. So I do think that with Oviedo out, doubtful at least, I think we could see Brand Vera. He has played left back before. He would be like the most likely. Then Quinton would start at center back, and then Glad and Brody. Bodie Hidalgo left early, I think like 16 minutes in, with a right hamstring injury last match. So again, that was a tricky one. I don't think he'll play. I have him at 10%. I would be shocked if he started. So that should leave Brody. Brody came off the bench, played 74 minutes plus, and should be the starter there again. Central mid, pretty straightforward. The rest, sure, there could be Anderson Holio, maybe over Matty Crooks, which would put Holio up top and Arango at the cam, kind of underneath that position. But like Diego Luna, he should start. Like Gomez should start. Barajas had a great start, and then he kind of slowed down. So RSL, that's kind of my thinking there. I already went over Seattle, but if anyone has any questions on Seattle, I'll be glad to go over it again for sure. Portland, let's get to the Evander situation. Oh, Phil Neville. I don't know if it's like gamesmanship, whatever he's doing, but he said everybody was good to go. There are no issues whatsoever. And then what happens the next day? He says, "Oh, Vander, yeah, he's a major doubt for the weekend, and it's just ruined lineups." It happened Friday. Like Thursday, he said about it, and then Friday. So he played off the bench. He should be good. I think I'm very conservative at 60%. I could have been higher, but I want to be conservative because, I mean, what is going on here? Question from FBL. Will Camacho start? So let's go back up. So he is a risk for me. He could for sure start. I'm at 50%. The reason is whenever they've rotated, I know it's a little bit different from Champions Cup. It's either been a Munson, he plays the league and then he rotates in Champions Cup, but obviously that's a little different here. Or it's been Camacho. They have kind of like alternated. If you kind of look at like the past, Chaburko didn't play last match and then played like the previous three. I do think Chaburko gets in the starting lineup. It's just, is he going to go in for a Munson? Is he going to go in for Camacho? Is he going to go in for Marrero? It's a definite toss-up. I wouldn't play him in your top lineup, especially on the road, although it's not a horrible lineup, not a horrible matchup. But yeah, I don't love Camacho regardless this week. So personally, that's just kind of. But again, do I know everything? Absolutely not. Camacho could start, but that's kind of my thinking in that. So if Evander starts, Rodriguez on the left, Moreno on the right. If he doesn't start, Moreno probably at Cam or Williamson. This does feel like Paredes, kind of Williamson flip-flops. Chara should be good to go. Ayala, not too high on him starting. I like his future, but it doesn't seem like he's starting. Claudio Bravo, haven't heard any information on that. That came out of nowhere. It is a lower leg issue. Again, that came out Friday. There was nothing that happened all week. That came out Friday. So we could see Eric Miller probably again. And then at center back, Zuparik started. He had so many issues with the club. And then he started over McGraw. Arujo was out whenever the coach said that everyone was good to go other than Luria. So again, there's some definite doubt there. So if you have any of those players, That could be a little bit tricky. Portland is favored here, but San Jose has been on a roll. They're coming back into their own, which is good to see. The kind of main guy that a lot of people are asking about is Jackson Yule. He was sick. He missed the flight because he was sick. That's kind of what happened last match. It was last minute. He woke up Friday and he was sick, missed the flight. But he's on track to be available. He trained fully today, so that's good to see. But it's a toss-up. I have him at 55%. Segras, 55% as well. So like if Yule is not in the starting lineup, it should be him. Hernan Lopez coming on in hot. I think he's really what they needed. So if you take a look here, he started. He went 89 minutes, so the fitness is there. He scored. Huge. Espinoza scored. Pellegrino scored. If this happens for San Jose, they can be a half-decent team. The defense is solid. It's just kind of they've been out of whack. I think they're getting good pieces in, and this is kind of what we thought maybe they could be. Like Paul Marie not starting is great. He's serviceable, but not great. I would love to see when Daniel's back. Daniel had surgery on March 27th. There's been some like rumors going around. Like I had questions: is he playing this match? He's out 4 to 6 months. That was the original time frame. I don't know if that's changed, but like that would put him at July, late July at the absolute earliest. So I'm not sure if that changed, but that was the diagnosis. So people asking about Daniel should be in there. So FBL still working up to here. So we'll just talk about Obobase. 60% compared to 40% for Judd. Could they rotate? Sure. As far as Obobase, he was kind of the odd man out. And if you look at his last 3 performances, they haven't been great as far as on So Rare, and he hasn't scored. He hasn't kind of contributed when others around him have been contributing a little bit. So that's interesting. We could see Judd, but at the same time, Judd hasn't done anything either. So that's why I went 60-40. I do lean Obobase, but could he not start with a midweek match? Absolutely. So there is significant risk there, in my opinion. Whoa, we don't tolerate well. I apologize. I just think Vidor's cost is a little bit of an upgrade, but maybe I don't watch enough of Paul Murray. Rodriguez is kind of getting into better form, which is nice. Bruno Wilson is solid. He's an improvement over Beeson, so that's really solid. And then, if your wingers play well, Kikanovic, sure, they could rotate, but Pellegrino's getting into form. So I don't think they need to make any changes on that. That is the last match. We did it. So do we have any questions at all? Glad to answer anything. I can scroll back to other lineups. We do have 3 teams that are on bye. ATG's Sporting Kansas City. So here we go. May have missed it, but what's your 2 cents on the Beavers, McMath? Somebody in chat said it is Wednesday, so that's like a Beavers type thing. I went 70-30. McMath did have some issues last match for sure, and this seems like a Beavers spot for sure. Just don't feel great about it. I just if I had a McMath, he would go in like my last lineup. If I had a Beavers, he'd go in my last lineup. I just don't feel good about either of them. I just don't have a really good gut on it, and the times they've rotated, it's been after a clean sheet, so you can't even say like poor form is why they rotate. So that kind of throws it into as well. Yeah, just keep firing questions. I'll rapid fire these. Reagan away versus RSL, or shake up the Seattle stack with Tim Parker home versus LAFC. May as well stick with Reagan, maybe. Yeah, I'll probably go Reagan. I know they're all on the road against RSL, so it's not a great matchup, but I'd probably just stick with them. Just because Tim Parker is solid, but he's not really going to have that upside. Reagan doesn't have a ton of upside either, but if you have a Fry and you have Reagan, you could get that stack if they can hold a clean sheet, but that's easier said than done against RSL. Let's see. Thailand and Opoku. Talos Magno returned. Is it worth investing in them? So Apoku, we'll start with him. Should be close to returning. The original date was actually on Saturday against Inter Miami. They were hoping he'd be back, but he wasn't in the team. So could he be on the bench for this match? He could. He is kind of ramping up training, and I would say it's sooner than later we're going to see him. If not midweek, maybe this weekend. So he's getting close, and with the lack of options they really have, with Kokoro out 8 to 10 weeks, and just Martinez still out with that knee, he's going to get into playing time and hopefully some form. If you think back last year, there was kind of European teams looking at him, and Montreal gave a lot up to get him as far as targeted allocation money. So he's definitely in the plans. It's just about staying healthy, which he's struggled with a little bit. And then Talos Magno is back, but they are just kind of babying him, for lack of better words. He's been a sub, but hasn't played at all the last. So he's good enough to be on the bench, but he hasn't played a minute. So waiting on him to get some time. Talos Magno is super talented, and I like him a lot. It's just, will Cushing give him a chance? I'm not going to lie. Whenever I heard the rumor of Cushing hitting Marshall Ruddy, I was like, maybe he'll get fired and free all our players. But that's kind of my thinking there. What was the question between Yol and Sigurus? So Jackson Yol missed the flight because he was sick last match, but he is training and on track to be available. So if he isn't like full fitness, if he's still battling a little bit of a cold or whatever he has, that's where I could see Sigurus still starting compared to, if Yol's not 100%. So that's kind of the thing in between there. McAvey. Is that McVeigh from DC? He's 90%. FBL, if you go in the Discord, you can look at all these as well. It's in one of my tweets if you want to see like individual teams. Ladera should be good after playing really well last match, and Gutman should be good. I don't see him being rotated. Is Gutman good for Cap 240? Yeah, Chicago has a good matchup. Gutman is not nearly the scorer that he was like at the beginning of last season with Atlanta, but yeah, he could score well. It's Cap 240, so his cap hit should be pretty good for that. Well, who has a Super Day trade? Got a shiny old season bank pack. Hey, it's just one match. He'll probably go back to starting, or he'll start this match, and we'll just be like, okay, is Beaver's going to be on the weekend? We'll have the same conversation, which is brutal. So, yeah, Stuver is one guy that like I was high on in the offseason, didn't buy. Everyone's saying Cleveland, like Cleveland's going to be the starter. I was team Stuver, but I did nothing about it. Didn't put my money where my mouth is. So, you hate to see it. All right. I might as well take a look at building lineups because I haven't started yet. I'm not going to transfer them over or anything, but I'm just going to take a look real quick at our rares. Just kind of, I like to see it under 23, like what I can put together. Sanfrecce playing is big for some of my players here. I was kind of looking at Brady and playing Brady in this situation. I did say that I didn't have any goalkeepers but I guess Brady's a decent matchup. He'll concede because he always does, but if he doesn't, he can smash. Harry could be interesting for sure in this matchup as an under 23. Kind of just looking. Are you going to participate in the J League? I don't have current season cards, so I will not be playing the J League, sadly, unless. Is it classic? Is there a classic version? Or I actually didn't even look, to be honest, just because I only have Sanfrecce. I have like a Savio. I don't have a ton of J League cards. So let me know if it's new season, I can't play. If it's classic, maybe I'll look at it. Sold Stuver early, believing Cleveland take over. Yeah, I mean, it was it made sense. Why would Cleveland leave Seattle? You need 3 in season. Yeah, I can't do that. Makes sense though. I would like to play, but yeah, I think I'll go the old different route. So under 23, I kind of want to prioritize in like these types of situations. It's a midweek, obviously. I do want to see just based on what do we got in under 23. I know like EPL's playing, and we have decent things. I always like to see how many goalies there are. Like who's the best goalies. Is Tawny starting? Tawny's back. Or who's I thinking? Tawny's been back. Sasaki. Sasaki's the under 23 goalie. That I was thinking, yeah. Tawny was on my short list for a while. So Osako is up there. Kashima's in third. Heard's gonna be a really good prize pool. Yeah, I haven't even dug in just because I kind of put it off. But yeah, those like I did the MLS one. That was great. There's a decent amount of Europe. Let's see. Leeds. That's the playoffs, right? In the championship. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong there. What we got? Rosenberg here playing Nico Mantle. Interesting for Viborg. French League. So there are a decent amount of keepers playing along with MLS, so it's not just like an isolated MLS. But it's like to see like who are the high end guys. Can I compete with these guys? Like Man City playing. Bardiol is playing unbelievable lately. But like Harriel being a AAA matchup in under 23 is crazy. He played really well last match, but yeah, I'll probably roll him out there. But yeah, it's nice seeing kind of like what you're up against. I haven't done this nearly as much as I have lately. Like last game week, whenever I was preparing, my gallery, I have so many under 23, and like that's solely what I used to play. So like whenever you can triple enter, I'm definitely going to be triple entering for that. Diego, it's 4 a.m. You got to go now. Hey, I appreciate you saying the entire time. Whenever the summer hits, so I'm a school teacher, and then like I come home and I have to wait for my son to go down. In the summer, I'm going to try and do some like midday, which hits the European audience better. I know it's tough, but like this is the only time I can do it at the moment. So appreciate that. Thanks for coming in. Good night. Let's see, Bassett up there. Almada. So you do see a lot of MLS guys, but then you have like Celtic playing. So O'Reilly, Kilmarnock, yeah. Echeverry for River Plate. So there are some big teams playing. So like I'd probably play Pooch there. But I feel like under 23 might be the way that I go for there. And then I have my Philly guys for the in-season. Somerville, has he kicked back on? Yeah, he's averaging 61 his last 5. I haven't really followed too much of the championship lately. He's been solid. Yeah, I was thinking about like there because he had that insane run for him, and then so he's ramping back up. Mitsuda, I do have a Mitsuda, so I'm probably going to play that. Under 23 just makes a lot of sense for me the more I talk about it. Thanks for your inputs. Love to join your streams. I told you earlier we're going to shoot your streams. We'll be for now. Hey, thank you for stopping in. I mean, I know it's really late for you, so I really appreciate it. Anytime, my friend. Have a good night. All right, so we conquered. I think I'm going to play Osako, 55%, 45% clean sheet. He just doesn't have that upside where he's just going to score his face off. You just got to hope for a 60. Or do I go Chris Brady? He gets more AA, he gets more saves. Schulta, same kind of thing. So it's not a bad thing to have the difference, but Osaka just makes the most sense. And then Harriel, I'm going to play the old season. I guess I could play Tolkien on the road against DC, but Harriel, I do want to just talk about him because he's great. Look at that graph too. I did touch on him. He smashed 75.34. 71, 60. He's almost good for a 60 plus lately. And Kai Wagner gets all the attention, and he's quietly been really good. So Harriel as the 2023 version. I'm not going to transfer these over to Zerrare. Since I'm already on, I might as well build them out, right? And again, while I see people coming in and out. If you're on Twitter, just switch over. If you have YouTube or Twitch, I'm on there as well. You can fire questions off in the chat, and I will gladly answer. Probably got like 20 more minutes in me, maybe 25. We'll see how long this takes. Lineup building, and again, just kind of talking through my process might help you. And like I said, for last game week, it kind of helped me talk through that process. Although I didn't have a super productive, I think I got a little bit of cash. If it held, I didn't even look today, and I got a tier 3 under 23. But any questions? Even if I already touched on it, I can gladly go back to it. Ricky Puig has to be the play, but at the same time, Jack McGlynn makes a lot of sense. I might go Jack McGlynn as my extra spot because I do like Mitsuda at forward, but you can't not play Ricky Puig regardless. And then I could play Carranza, but the mix of I just feel like under 23 without like a decent amount of teams could be a little soft, and maybe like a mix of AA, and if they hit a decisive, great. So like Carranza makes sense in that he can score and he does have that upside, but like Jack McGlynn can also score and he provides that AA, which he should be able to get a decent amount of passing. Let me go back to, let's check out this my players, there are probabilities. Let's see who is projected more points. So Puig is 72. Oh, Barriel, 90%, really? Huh. McGlynn at 53 and Carranza at 49. So I think the tiebreaker is going to have to go to McGlynn, and I'll play him the new season ones together. As far as captaining, like Puig, regardless of matchup, makes a lot of sense. And like I said earlier, like I'm not very good at captaining. Whatever I do is always usually wrong, but like I usually captain Ricky Puig. Do you think Rona's going to be back on set pieces? Jepelols? Yeah, I do think he is going to jump right back onto, especially if Mihalovic misses this match due to his wife being in labor. Maybe like she should be in labor in the next like few days, so there's a lot of risk there. Not that it really changes much, but whenever Connor Ronan was in there, he was taking all sets. So I do think he'll get the set pieces back, and I do like. Where are you going to score? Well, after 30 minutes, I'm missing my favorite part. Good to have you back. Yeah, just talking through. I'm going to prioritize under 23. So right now I'm at 82. Let's see what server data thinks. 85 for him. 85 is probably going to be the same, right? 85 because they're all similar. So it's just do I think the road matchup against Minnesota for Ricky Puig? Do I want to play Jack McGlynn at home? Because I think he could really have a really nice match, especially how he's scoring. I just think his passing, and he's going to rack up a lot. And then Mitsuda has great AA for a forward, and he can get decisive. It just depends where he plays at. Yeah, I know whoever I pick is going to be the wrong pick. Waking up midnight for some water, tuning in to say hello, but not a huge fan anymore. Sorry, Alex. I apologize. Store, like I have a ton of jerseys, but the story behind Dortmund. So I did one of those Ancestry.com. I mean, I've liked Dortmund before. Did one of those Ancestry.com to see where like my ancestors were from, and they were from like I'm not sure the region, what the region's called for Dortmund. I always forget what it is, but apparently my ancestors were mainly from there and Ireland. So it's kind of like if that's where my ancestors were from, allegedly. I actually like Dortmund from their last final. Oh, okay. All right. And adding on to that, I like to get American jerseys. And while he hasn't been great for them, obviously, and he's kind of nosedived a little bit, this is a Gio Reyna jersey. So we'll get a little yellow wall in it, man. I would love to be like, my bucket list is to get to Europe to see a proper match, like uh, not a Philadelphia Union match, but like how I would compare it to. I know it's like a whole different thing, but like if you ever seen college football, like the stadiums, like that atmosphere is great, but like that's nowhere near like what I could even imagine. So that's definitely on my bucket list to get over there. What's your favorite jersey in your collection? Favorite Philly jersey ever? Oh, boy, that's a good one. I like the new kits. The new kits are pretty sweet. But I have a long sleeve one that has like the old MLS logo. Big fan of the Bimbo sponsor. That's pretty great. So I like all those unis for sure. Let's see what we got. Yeah, so I do like the new unis. I think they're pretty snazzy. I forget what they call them, the 15s or whatever. Yeah, the XB, the 15. So yeah, definitely my new Duke jersey. Although haven't had a reason to wear it, but I would say that's probably my favorite in my collection as of now. Um, I got some older ones like a Drogba. I was a big Drogba fan. I guess I would have been what, in high school. So I have a Chelsea Drogba jersey. I'm not like a Chelsea fan, but I like individual players. I like my Drogba jersey a lot. I got like your Ronaldo, Portugal, your Messi, Argentina, big country guy. I have like a Landon Donovan USA jersey is one of my favorites. Yeah, I'm always up for for getting more jerseys, especially like if I'm going to a match. Um, I would love to, go on, I don't know, to other MLS stadiums. Like I've been to DC, I've been to Philly, but other than that, I haven't been really to any stadiums. So I'm trying to hit one new one um, every year. So like I'm not sure if I'm going to go to Columbus or Cincinnati this year, um, or like New York. Huge Chelsea fan. That's awesome. Ooh, white one from 2014. I was in college in 2014, and we went to a decent amount of games. And yeah, those white ones were clean. Were really clean. Yeah. Do you like the Argyle kits? I actually like low key like the Argyle kits from Sporting Kansas City this year. I don't know if they've like critically done well, but I definitely like those kits. Also, you know what? I don't between Mitsuda, McGlynn, and Pooge, and I guess even Harriel, but I wouldn't captain Harriel. Who do you guys think? Who would you captain if you had this lineup? Who would you captain? Mitsuda? I like that. I like that. 55% chance to win. Pooge is a no-brainer. Yeah, I mean, so I'm a home guy for sure, which is what what scares me. Pooge, yeah, she's been so good. It doesn't matter either or. Um, Pooge or Argyle kids are always sweet. I sent you a pic of my favorite in Discord. Nice outlook. Um, it's just tough not to look at that. Let's go. Starts from away. Take that all day. I don't take that all day. I mean, that 38.4 AA against Austin was insane. Um, yeah, it's just Ricky's my favorite player. If you didn't know, He's too good. He's too good. Yeah, I'll captain him. I think we don't even have to consider that. But I do like Mitsuda because he does put up AA, but Pooj in any matchup, just lock it in. All right, so under 23, I'm gonna prioritize it. I'm gonna learn from my mistakes of not prioritizing. And I just think there's a better chance for my gallery to do well just based on matchups and who I actually have. So I think that wipes out my contender possibility because I don't have a keeper, right? So it's gonna be interesting. I have like Wakazaka. Yeah, Pooj over Messi, and yeah, Messi and Acosta are like the only ones I think, unless it's like a crazy matchup. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I don't think I have any forwards always. Ohashi, he's not supposed to start, right? He's not back yet. Sasaki. So maybe I'll play All Star with these guys is probably what I have to do, but I'm not gonna really prioritize just because. Or do I? Because those guys won't be played like game theory. The J League competition, those guys are good. Well, new season cards, old season. If you only need 3, 2 of them can go in there. So that's going to take a decent amount. So this could be a kind of leverage situation if I would want to do that and kind of go through that. But then do I want to go for cash as well? And do I break up like some of the Philly guys? I think that's a decent look. I'm going to see what this looks like and kind of go from there. So like, do I go with Brady? Is that good enough as an all-star keeper? He's probably not going to keep a clean sheet. Or do I go like Semla here, but then I don't have a new keeper for cash competitions? Do I go Schulte in that situation? Do I go Calendar? I think I go Brady as my kind of next up. So we go Brady. We got Sho Suzuki. I mean, I could even play Kai here, like Kai and Sho. I think that makes a lot of sense, actually. Do I want cash? Seems like a no-brainer. But you actually have to win the cash. So I will be honest with you, though. Like, yeah, winning cash is great. But there's something about winning cards that, like, that pull, even if it's like a stinker. Like, even a tier 5. Like, tomorrow I'm getting a tier 3 under 23. If I would have put Pooj in that lineup like I should have, then I would have freaking got first place. Like, that's brutal. But, like, that tier 3 tomorrow, it could be worth $20, whatever. But, like, it's exciting getting that reward and, like, getting that cash. It might be more than what that is. But, like, I don't know. There's that. I don't know. I don't. Dopamine, whatever you want to call it. But like if you get cash, you can buy whatever player you want, which makes a lot more sense. But like the kind of like gambling aspect to it, or whatever you want to call it, kind of makes me think that. So let's go Show. And then I'll put my old season Kai. So like 52% against Tosu on the road, but Wakazaka has not been great. Or maybe it's just last match, and I'm just thinking the stinker he put up. No, he hasn't really done well this season. I think I bought him like, I don't know, somewhere in that range. Missed out on all this, but it'd be interesting. Savio's a little bit more goal dependent. We talked about him last week, but of course he scored 49% against Shannon Belmar. He scored and had great AA. A price must be paid for suspense. Yes. Yes. Like, what's better than just waiting for 2:00, just refreshing, and just got to get that little bit of something to get my day going. Oh man. Or I could go double midfield here and instead of playing Kai, but I don't know. I kind of like putting Kai in here as just let's go all out for All-Star Rare where people might not be playing. But the question is, do I play Wakazaka or do I play Savio? So I'm going to go back over to the sheet here. Who is projected more? 66 and 65. Doesn't help. So I guess it's 66. I guess, right? 49% at home. I'm a big home guy. Wakazaka hasn't been great, but he's on 3.5%. So if you put that in there, not that that really matters at 0.5%. Oh, decisions. All right, leave it up to Chad again. Who do we want? Who are we playing here? Wakazaka or Savio? Or do I not play Wagner as the extra and I just play them both? What would you guys do? And I'll do whatever the consensus is because I really can't split hairs. I'm leaning towards Savio, but like I can see you playing Wakazaka as well. Just kind of the old tweener. Play Wagner. Yeah, I mean, if I'm really going for it and this is my like second priority, it just makes sense to just go for it. Coming from a J League expert, Savio's the man. I like it. Maybe I can play that 55 in cap compared to 62. And what midweeks you can play 2 All-Star if I have to, but I don't think I have the goalies to do it anyway. So, how about Moreno with that matchup? That's legit. Damas had 4 XG last home game. That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, so let's go Kai, old season, and then our forward. 2 Penza. Okay. Yeah, Moreno's legit. With that matchup, I kind of want to play him in my either classic or my challenger. But I'm gonna just this isn't how I should play it, but like I don't really have a place to play Savio and those guys, but I definitely don't want to not play them in this situation, just because I prioritize under 23. And since I prioritize under 23, it takes away Asako, takes away Mitsuda. So it kind of is a little bit tricky here. Huh. Ura is 81% on the bench. So I don't know if you guys have been checking these out. I usually try and look either like, just before or, like the morning of. So like maybe like 2 hours before I try to look. How have these server data percents been? I know that, like the reliability has been low and there's not like experts that have done them for this game week, but like have they been good? Have they been bad? I just haven't like looked enough. So like having an MLS gallery, I should have a bigger MLS gallery. Ajaman was one of the weekly picks, but with these guys, yeah, I think I'm going to go Carranza. Just because I do like Carranza and I do think he could score. And if Wagner can like throw a cross in and Carranza gets on it, that just makes sense. That just makes sense to me. So captain, like I know it's AAA compared to AA, whatever, but Kai does have a good matchup. He does have the upside. Savio in a good matchup. Show has not been great, to say the least. I bought him this year. That's actually not. I undersold that. Recency bias. I knew he had a horrible game last match, and I captained him. So that recency bias, I couldn't get that out of my head. But he's not hitting those dark greens that he was. But he still has been good. So I apologize for the show, the show's slight hatred for a second. I like my guys. I'm going Kai. 73 in All-Star. That's solid. I think the keepers kind of hold me back a little bit, and Carranza being only an A in All-Star hold me back a little bit. But I like it. I'm feeling an Ura goal. For some reason, the ball just keeps falling to him. Yeah, he gets so many chances. Like, it just falls to him, and he could have more goals. He scored decently well, a decent amount of goals. But, yeah, that's what I was looking at whenever I was at forward. That's what brought on 81% have him on the bench, which throws off the rating, not being in the projected lineup. I mean, I should go through and like do all these, but I just don't have the time to go through. And with like it taking the 10 best, I mean, mine might not even been in the 10 best. Unlucky ever. That's a great username. Hey, appreciate it. Thank you. I have Evander and don't know how to risk him in an important lineup. Alternatives are Shaqiri, Pereira, Hector Herrera, and Jose Martinez. Okay. It depends how risk averse you are. There is slight risk, like with him not playing. But if he starts, this is an absolute smash spot. So like you wish he was just 90%, he's good to go. There's a little bit of risk, but like him playing off the bench makes me think like he'll be good. How long can he play? Are we getting 60 minutes from Evander, or are we getting 80? Are we getting 90, right? If you could lock me in for 80 minutes, sign me up. Shaqiri's in a good matchup. Pereira. Austin's at home. Hector Herrera is a little bit safer, but he's still like 75%. I have him. And Jose Martinez, I probably wouldn't lump together with those guys. I'd rather play Evander over Jose Martinez for sure. It just depends how risk adverse you are. I like Evander, and in this lineup, like you don't want to miss out on Evander, but you could play one of those other guys if you want to take the safe route. I know you don't want to like risk a lineup, but the upside that Evander has if he plays might be worth it. Not financial advice. Yeah, let's get to the end season because we want to win some cash. Flush with cash. Jonesy, let's go. How are you doing, bud? Good to hear from you. All right, what are we going to do in season? So the question is, do I play an old goalkeeper and sacrifice maybe a outfield player that I would have a better one if it was an old season, or do I play Semla and he just wrecks the lineup whenever they concede? And I'm going to go straight back to the well and go with Semla. Never thought of this. Is there a gap between last week's lineups closing and lock? Got to get rid of McMath. I don't know if there's a gap. I don't think. If someone in the chat knows, I'm pretty sure it's my time, 10 o'clock. I'm pretty sure the old, like it ends and the next one starts same time. Thank you. We'll decide. That's a tough decision. Really tough decision. Especially when it's like a Portland smash spot. If they were ever going to smash, they might not. But that's a really tough one. My best stack is Philly, but none of my keepers have good matches. Assembly and priority. Yeah, that's tough because if he concedes 3, I mean, well, if he concedes 3, we might as well just throw it out anyway. But like even last match, McGlynn, if he scores well, like some of these guys can score well whenever they don't keep a clean sheet. I mean, I'm going to play Kai with him, but it's tough. Like here, Gazdag, like yeah, he could score PK for sure, he could, but like, would I rather have McGlynn, who could score from open play, but he's going to rack up so much AA, and like Moreno in this matchup, I really like the matchup. I think he's in a great spot, but I'm going to save it for the extra. Maybe he's the best extra that I have. I'm going to go McGlynn, and then Carranza. So we are going to go pretty, not chalky, but pretty Philly heavy. And then I like putting Moreno in here. Instead of going like Gazdag, sure, leaving him out could be an issue if they have a penalty, 100%. but I don't want a full stack. I just don't. So like if I put Gazdag, then I can switch to keeper. But is any of the keepers worth it? Like Calendar concedes, he's going to concede. Schulte maybe could keep clean sheet, maybe. But like Semla has the best chance of the three. So I'm going to go Santi Moreno as the last one. Like I really like talking these things out because like, hey, this could be like the wrong way of thinking about it, but talked it out, and then like whenever the lineup blows up and I could have done something differently, don't look back at it, look at the process, and kind of go from there. You have Kalina, but I'm not trying to break up my Charlotte defensive stack. I don't know. Yeah. Hey, maybe Semla just has a great. It's not about Semla. It's more about like the center backs. To be honest with you, like they just aren't playing well. They're getting completely dominated. So that's kind of the issue I have with them. Because I mean, some of these goals you can't save. And then I usually just go Kai just because I do think he has the biggest upside. McLean has been great, but I do think the pretty safe floor to go with the upside of an assist is big for Kai. Glesnes is going to lose. He just looks so awkward out there. He does. It's just, but he's been playing better than Lowe. Like Glesnes was horrible in the Champions Cup, but Lowe in the last two matches, it just, I don't know, it just hasn't looked good. So what do we think? I mean, 76 in the cash. I mean, it could be decent. I have a good percent on all of them. These new season getting them at 10+%. I got the 5% bonus. I haven't trained Semla nearly enough, which is a bummer. But and I think I'm going to build them. And I usually don't do this because I put them in server right away. I think I'm going to build them and then tomorrow morning take a look to see if these are more reliable. I mean, not for the MLS, but for like the other ones. It is always good validation to see what the pick score is like. Okay, hell, this guy went up to a AAA. Like, now that there's reliability in there, like Semla being a C right now, if you factor in clean sheet and things like that. Let's see. What's the pick score? Scoring history has been bad and his form's bad. Okay, so that might not change anything. I'm also playing Prior in lowest division. Never thought I'd be one of those people. You gotta do what you gotta do. So, like, I'm probably gonna shoot for the moon and probably not win anything. I've been doing that a lot lately. But like, if for some reason Philly goes off, I want to try and win as much as I can. And like with this being a midweek with a lot of MLS, but not as much of a field to play against, I know rewards in midweek aren't as good, but I don't know. I want to kind of shoot for the moon this midweek, I think. If you can't beat them. But that's not saying that I haven't done that already. Like, I've played decent players, like, in a midweek prioritized D3, D4. So, all right. Now, do I go to a second in-season? I 100% do. Because we got to get some of that cash back, baby. That sweet cash after I tried to be the top collector for this Philadelphia Suckfest this year. So we'll do one more in-season. It's going to have to be a keeper. So it's just kind of, do I trust Schulte to maybe get some AA as well against Montreal? Because I just don't think Calendar's going to not concede. Hey, Daniel, thanks for coming in, man. Have a good night. I appreciate you. So I'm going to go Schulte. And then we have to go with our in-season. So Harry will lock him in. Gazdag, I do have like Quinn Sullivan and Bedoya. Atuesta is pretty far down here. Road matchup. Just pretty mediocre all over. I've been kind of bummed. I won him in a box. I got really lucky with that, and then his form tailed since I got him in the box, which is naturally what happened. Yeah, I could go Ajumon, or I could go old season with Ura and like slide that in as like a secondary. What if Philadelphia smashes? Kind of don't hate the idea of just going full for the second group, and not having that one off, and then play all the one offs in Classic. Because like Paintsel, I talked about him earlier. Like, do I think he's gonna play? He should, but like that, him going to a locker room was weird. Maybe he's had to take a dump. It could have been that. It might just be me like looking at it and talking myself out of it. But I'm gonna play Uro. He's an F, but that'll change. If people, I should probably pick that. Can I just go in and pick that real quick? Is that possible? To try and boost that, it wouldn't do much. And then our last player has. Oh no, I can't do this. I already have. You idiots! You already have your keeper. Man, it's 11:43 here. I feel like I'm kind of losing it. So I guess we have to go Ajumon, which is fine. I like Aji because the rest won't start. And then our extra is going to have to be, like a Quinn Sullivan. I'm not going to play Glesnes in this. I could go Martinez, a defensive, but I'm going to go Quinn Sullivan. And I'm going to captain Harriel. 69, nice. Yes. Calendar is the Glesnes for keepers this season. That is great. You love to see it. Oh, man. Oh, man. Appreciate the 14 watching on mixture of Twitch and YouTube. I know it's a lot easier to just watch on Twitter. How many we got on Twitter? Holy 343. That's crazy. Thank you all on Twitter for watching. I appreciate it. That's crazy. At this time, I just would have thought it wouldn't be anywhere near there. So I appreciate everyone tuning in. That's crazy. Watching me just, meander over my gallery for a midweek that I'm probably just not going to win anything. But I'm going to try my best. All right. We'll go Classic. I just haven't really played 240, and cared about it lately. Maybe I should, but I haven't. Yeah, I'll just go Classic. Again, I like playing Classic. So Calendar's the last goalie I have, so this will be the last lineup I have. I don't think I have any others now. So we'll do the best of the best here. See what we got. John Tolkien makes sense. Campos on the road. Not going to play any of these defenders. Thank God I have those cards, right? Yeah, Tolkien on the road at DC. See, like this lineup, never going to win a reward. So, like Daniel said about dropping down, I think I have one or two D1 classics. It just doesn't make sense to play them there when this lineup's not very good. Gazdag, it makes sense to play him again and just kind of to keep that XP churning. Pereira could start with him starting and scoring. Keaton Parker's on the bench. Talked about him. Don't really like any of the other options. We'll just go there. Facu Torres would make sense as well, but Miami and my keeper's Calendar, so he'll probably score. We'll go Paintsel. Paintsel makes a lot of sense. And do I want to go with Gazdag and Ura as like the one-offs of the other ones? So, because I just can't play a player against my goalie. I just won't do that. Or do I go Gomez against Seattle? Makes a lot of sense. Hey, Jonathan. Nice to see you from Israel. Appreciate you coming in. You're catching the tail end. You say it won't win a reward. It won't. So it's either do I stack Ura because he's going to score. I gotta play Ura. Or do I play Gomez, who's in a better matchup and has a chance to get decisive as well? Corbin Vargas away. Atuesta, maybe playing my defensive mid gets more tackles, things like that. Don't think Kermash should start. I'm going to go Ura. Just as a link-up play there. And just Captain Pendog. Pendog just with a 7 AA and 3 penalties. Call it even. I'm sure I'll tinker with that, but I couldn't look at that anymore. Couldn't look at Glesnes keep showing up here. All right, so that's I guess I could do a 240 and just like with the extras and try to 4-man it. I guess that makes sense. Just throw. I mean, I guess I could probably just throw Blake in there if I really wanted to. Glesnes, get off my screen. But like play Koga, because he's actually in a good spot. He's legit. I won this Raitan. I just don't know anything about Rosenborg, and I should have sold him because I don't follow it. But I think I won him. I won him here. Won him here, and then I didn't play him at all. So he just kind of went down. But he had some promising scores, so I'm just gonna hold on to him. But for a while, I thought Rosenborg was like one of the better teams. But making moves. Stuve. Let's go. Stuver, baby. Sacrificial lamb. So I'm going to go Koga because cap doesn't really matter because I'm just going to put a 0 in. We play Wakazaka. This is ridiculous. Hashi's not in the lineup. Luis Henrique's away. He should start from what I know. I think we go Gomez. And I think we get Torres here. Or do we go Fernandez? Fernandez against Fortaleza. You could just go Atuesta. No more Beaver shenanigans. Yeah. That is nice to not have to worry about. Not going to lie. Long or Mayer this week? Oof, that's a good question. That's a really good question. So Long I have at 70%. I just worry about, it seems like they have 3 guys in the mix. Murillo didn't play last match, so Long and Chanel, they kept a clean sheet. They both played pretty well. So that's why I kept them as starters, but I did go 60% with Murillo. So there's a little bit of could Murillo play for one of those two? But Long played well and it's a clean sheet. Like you should keep that back line together. And then the other one was Mayer. So Nashville, I'm 70% in him. Again, they're in a nice spot, which makes sense. I would see Lovitz for 50%, but I think Schaffelberg would be at that left mid spot, and Mayer should be at the 70% here. But Coach Gary Smith is very sporadic, so Nashville's my worst team that I predict. So I'm not entirely confident about that, and it seems like every Nashville match, 1 player or 2 players just end up on the bench that you're like, why did he not play? So hopefully that helps you out. I wasn't very decisive there. Gun to my head. I play Mayer. Better matchup. And I guess Mayer. Gun to my head. Atuesta, just feel like even if it's on the road, like if he plays in Illy's spot, he can rack up more of those, maybe get like a double, triple-double. Like he has to hit decisives is the only issue right now because the AA is like 15. It's not anything crazy, but in cap mode, that might not be the worst things. Nice. If you're leaning towards Mayer, perfect. So like, do I go Atuesta? Yeah, I can go anyone. Santi Rodriguez, it looked like cramping / fatigue. What do they say? Out till tomorrow for Opta. Against Philly, I mean, anyone against Philly right now is a good matchup. So I could play Vargas on the road against Chicago. I could play Henrique. Guido kind of makes sense. He's kind of a guy that's pretty consistent. That's some cat mode stuff that you like to see. 31A coming off that. What percent are they to win? Probably pretty good on the road against Las Palmas. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. The more like I'm thinking about it, I know they're on the road, but like Torres at home, yeah, he could get a decisive, but he's not going to put up the AA. And if we're just trying to, I mean, I guess we're going to need some upside, but like, and then 32, I wanted to put my Blake in here. Holden Trent, holding down the fort. Captain. I know Wakazaka has been great, but like I was stuck between him and Savio, so I'm gonna go Triple A Stuve, baby. You're in heaven. Let's go. Stuve. Luckily in the cap 240. Not really expect it, but sure if it could. Yeah, and I'm sure I will rebuild these all in the morning. But we'll leave it at that. Yeah, I think I don't think I can play. I don't have any keepers. Oh, you can do 2 All-Stars. I forgot about that this week, huh? So I guess in theory I could have played 2 All-Stars, but it doesn't make sense for me to play 2 All-Stars with like my second All-Star team to stink. Yeah. All right. Any last minute questions? And remember, if people don't play and I had them playing, you should have done your own research. Please don't put the blame on me. All right. Well, ladies and gents, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate like the time frame. I know it's not ideal. Hopefully this summer we can get into like some midday, which hits Europe a lot better. Like I'm hoping for like maybe like a midday stream, because maybe like noon. Sadly not. But that'll kind of hit more people. I know, like, don't have a ton on YouTube and Twitch, but at the same time, like, this is a horrible time. This is like the worst time to do it. So I appreciate everyone that's up late or up early. Like, it's crazy. And on Twitter, I can't believe 365 people. That is insane. So I appreciate you guys. Gonna log out. Good luck this game week. And if there's any notes or anything before the game week, I'll make sure that get them out there. So we'll see you next time.